Welcome to the RealNex Mastermind series. I'm Jeff Finn, your host today, CEO of RealNex, and we have a very special guest, Rene Nelson, and we will be getting started in just a second. I have a number of people still logging in, so we'll give you all a second to get assembled. In the meantime, wish you a very happy Halloween, and we are ready to get started. So. Our Mastermind series is a fantastic opportunity to hear best practices from RealNex users and people that are working with us to make the most of the RealNex platform. And today we're delighted to have Rene Nelson join us, a CCIM and principal broker of PacWest Commercial, a two-time CCIM Transaction of the Year winner for Oregon and Southwest Washington, a multifamily specialist who is taking the power of RealNex to grow and build her business. She had a great story and great history with RealNex, and I'm going to let her tell it, but it really started with her taking advantage of the RealNex relationship with CCIM and learning the financial analysis and presentation tools that we have with MarketEdge. And she was really working with an assistant who was putting together her packages and making it all work for her, but realized that she needed to get immersed fully herself, and was able to dig deep into RealNex and find it as a great tool for her to win business and execute transaction. And mastering the platform, she's been able to just impress her clients continuously, and she's got a great story about her 4-day RealNex deal from a cold call to a signed transaction, and we can't wait to hear about that and to hear about your day in the life, Rene, how you're using RealNex, some of your history, background, how you're growing your multifamily practice in the Pacific Northwest, and using technology to make that all happen. So let me turn it over to you. We've got the little bit of an overview, sort of a high-level presentation, and then we'll dig right into the platform. We'll be wide open for questions along the way. So as you have them, please feel free to present, and I'll moderate them for Rene and ask some questions that I might pose along the way as well. We are recording this as always, and we'll be distributing it to the group that's online, as well as the many that have not been able to join but registered. So Rene, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for including me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Big shout out to Matthew Smith, who is my RealNex account rep, who was so patient in helping me get started, and your IT department, James, in customer service is phenomenal. So 2 shout outs to those guys.
Awesome. Right off the bat. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Jeff mentioned, I had a transaction from start to finish, from when I contacted the seller to when I put it under contract within 4 days. I know all of us as brokers wished every day in the life of a commercial real estate broker was like that. It doesn't always work that smooth, but because I've had this real live experience in the last 60 days, Jeff and I had talked about it, and we thought it'd be worthwhile to share with you. As Jeff alluded, I've been a RealNex user since 2020 or 21. I had an associate that worked for me, but she was also getting her master's. She graduated in 2021 from Portland State University and couldn't pass up the opportunity to take a job with the city of Portland. And so I blessed her departure, but was kind of left high and dry and trying to figure out how to do my own marketing packages, broker opinions, and just the day-to-day things that we do as brokers to try to win business. So the first thing that I realized pretty quickly is I had to prove my numbers to a seller. So what I'd like to do is walk you through how I evaluate a property, because I have an easy 1-page pro forma template that I'm going to share with you. And this pro forma is designed to review the rental income and look at the operating expenses, and then I apply a market cap rate. So in this situation, I was across the street at another property with a property manager looking at a complex that one of my clients had just finished for a new construction. And as we walked out, she said, oh yeah, so-and-so across the street has been mentioning to me that they want to sell, and I just happen to have that guy in my database, in my RealNex database, that I've talked to him over the years. So I got back to the office and pulled up his market rents off of apartments.com. You can also like go out to Zillow. There's 1,000 different ways to find market rents. You could also call a property manager, or you could even call the owner, but I wanted to have my information ready before I approached him so that I could talk intelligently about what I thought the market value was of his property, because I knew that he was interested in selling, but he is in the University of Oregon campus, so he gets calls all the time, and I knew I had to differentiate myself right off the bat. So I put together this one-page pro forma, and I basically looked at the rents and guessed on other income that he's got a small 2-washer dryer system in there, so he's probably pulling a little bit of laundry income for the other income. And I like to apply a 5% vacancy factor, because I know the MAI appraisers are going to do that, a lender is going to do that, and a savvy investor is going to do that. Sometimes I see my competition try to use like 3% for a vacancy factor. I'm not going to split hairs here, but I like to build in a 5% vacancy factor. And then for expenses, because I was kind of trying to evaluate this property, what I typically do is I'll pull property taxes from the county, I'll use square footage, and I'll apply a millage rate for insurance. And then the rest of the expenses there, utilities, maintenance and repair, management, I just start to apply an industry standard. And the reason that I do that is you will typically see people who either are just putting a Band-Aid on their property and they're not really doing a great job with maintenance and repairs, so that number is super low, or you'll see where it's the opposite end of it, where they've got huge expenses, and a new buyer that comes in is not going to most likely run the property like that. So I just apply industry standards. So as an example, for maintenance and repair, I typically will use around $500 a unit. For turnover, I'll use $150 to $200 a unit. It depends on the age of the property and the condition. A lot of times I'll look up on Google Earth and look at that property if I can't drive by it. So I'll have a pretty good idea of the age of the property, and then that'll tell me what to build in there for turnover. So I derive at my net operating income, and then of course I just apply a market industry cap rate based off of my sales comps, and we'll show you in this presentation where we put our sales comps in RealNex. That's one thing that I'm really proud of, is my team and I have continually built our sales comps. So when I see my competitors send out offering memorandums and it has the sales comps or rent comps in there, I'll pull that information, verify it, and then put it into my database. Most of the stuff in my local market I have, but every now and then I'll see some new opportunity, a new comp that I'll plug in. So this is my one-page pro forma. I knew applying a 6% cap rate that my value was going to be around 2.7 million. So with that, I picked up the phone and called the owner. And now what I'm going to do is show you where I went through the kind of the decision process, or the thought process of how to tell the story to the seller of what his property would look like in the market. So there's 3 different opportunities, that at a minimum of 3 in RealNex. You can either do a broker opinion of value, you can create an easy flyer, but I like, when I'm talking to an owner and I'm trying to land the deal, I like to use an offering memorandum. And the reason I do that is because it's really in-depth and kind of meaty with what's included from the RealNex perspective. So if you look on the left of the pictures, you'll see these gray and white button areas. And what these are these are pages that RealNex has built into their template that's available to you for an offering memorandum. The red, where it says location information and unit breakdown, those are what I call sub pages, where it's like a heading page. You can take location information or unit breakdown out by just clicking on the little X on the right, and you can just delete it. And that page, as you can see right there, that was just kind of a filler page. These can become pretty in-depth, like 60 pages. And at that point, your seller's eyes are going to glaze over. So you've got to figure out, how do I get in, explain I'm a market expert, demonstrate to him or her, I understand what your property is worth, and then show them information that's specific to their property. So in this offering memorandum, I will typically go in, and this is the property offering memorandum that I created for this particular individual. And I just went by, shot some pictures on my iPhone, and that's what I plugged in. In the property summary, that gives you a great opportunity to start to build the story for the owner of how the market is going to view the property. And you'll see on the left under the property summary, those little bubbles, you can actually click on those where it says number of units, price per square foot, gross rent multiplier, any of those that you don't want, where you see the red X on the left, you can just click on that and it makes it just go away, and it shortens it that much more for just really giving you the nuts and bolts or the meat of your presentation. And then you can use the property overview to basically write a quick little explanation of the property overview and then the location. Again, this particular property is 3 blocks from the University of Oregon campus, so it was super easy. Once you get that information clicked, you just click on the right where it says finish editing. You click that button and that saves your changes. Then you're ready to go back to the left and pick your next thing that you want to do. Do you want to upload photos as an example? Jason, who is an associate on my team, is on this call with me, and he is a master at downloading pictures and minimizing those. But if you're a broker that struggles with stuff like that, do not beat your head against the wall. Just go in, ask for tech support. James will get you through the first couple of how to minimize your pictures and get them downloaded in, because the software is built to help make you money, not frustrate you and not have you beat your head against the wall. This particular photo page will also allow you to, you can either put one big picture in, or you can tell the system that you want to put in multiple pictures. So there are pages that you can add in, and then it'll tell you if you want to add in, say, 3 pictures, 4 pictures, etc. On the, so there's your option where you can add in the various pictures. Then on the left, once you get this page completed and you insert your pictures, then you can go back to the left and you can decide, do I want a regional map? Do I want a location map? And the beauty of building your offering memorandum is you can also send that offering memorandum out to the market if you want to do that. I prefer to take my offering memorandum and then skinny it down to a flyer, which I'm going to show you. But again, what I was trying to do was to build a story that this is like my picture book, my storybook, that I was going to walk the seller through how his property was being viewed. So I personally took out a lot of the aerial maps because my seller was in Portland, which is 2 hours north of where I live. I knew he knew his aerials and his demographics of where he was at within close proximity to the University of Oregon campus. So really where I started to focus was on the unit rent roll. And part of the thing that I really like about the unit rent roll in RealNex is it gives you an opportunity that you can actually put in the subject properties rents, and then you can also put in the market rent. And with the unit rent roll, that gives you a chance that you can show on, Jason, go up to the actual unit mix rent roll, up about 3 more, yeah, right there. Perfect. Let's just let this load for a minute and I'll show you what this looks like. So as you can see, this shows the square footage of the units, the average rents, as well as the market rents. And in my opinion, that's really important because that's telling a potential buyer if there's upside potential for making an offer on this. But I also have a discussion with the seller and just have a candid discussion with them. Hey, when was the last time you've raised your rents? If I don't have a rent roll in front of me, if they've sent me a rent roll and I can see they're pretty substantially below market, then I want to have a conversation with a seller and say, do you want to wait 6 to 8 months and let you go through another rent cycle? Do you want to increase your rents to your maximum? Most sellers, by the time they've made the switch in their mind and they want to sell, they're ready to sell and they don't want to wait for a 10% rent increase to take into account what it could potentially get them in value. They'd rather just take the property, put it on the market and see what they get for offers. But this does give me an opportunity to have a discussion with an owner and say, okay, your 1 bedroom, 1 baths right now are renting for $995. The market is $1,100. That's probably close enough. Do you want to consider doing a rent increase or do you want to just go forward? And again, most of them say, no, let's go forward. So I like the unit mix that's in RealNex. This is super easy to key in. You just go up to the income tab and you start keying it in. And then once you key it in under the income tab, it'll actually come into your report. So as you can see, this is what it looks like in the unit mix in RealNex when you're keying it in. Okay, next I'd like to talk about the sales comps that I included, because again, this is kind of, I call this my coveted material. It's all available to us in the market, whether you belong to CoStar, LoopNet, Crexi, wherever you're getting your comps. But the rubber meets the road when you become a market expert and you can tell the story about those comps. And that's really how I was different to the seller with the feedback that he later gave me, because on my sales comps, you can see that the average cap rate is around 5.21. So other brokers had tried to tell this gentleman that, you know, his market cap rate should be around 5.25. But what they didn't factor in was that his properties had not been renovated recently, and he had some Zinsco panels in there, electrical panels, and some different things that were going to have to be addressed in order to successfully close that transaction. So that's why when I priced it, looking at my sales comps, I priced it more around a 6 cap. So as we scroll down, you'll see the actual sales comps and the price per square foot. And in each sales comps, this particular graph I really like because RealNex just calculates all this for you. Once you put your information in for sales comps, this all calculates for you. And then you'll see as I scroll down, you're going to see the individual comments that I have put for each sales comp, whether it was a distressed sale or what was related to that property. So if you'll scroll down, Jason, I'll show them the sales comps. Okay, so there's my subject property. Down below it, here's a property that sold for a 4.1 cap rate in April of 24. So that's definitely a comp, but that particular property was a little bit of a distressed sale. So that's why it sold at a 4.1 cap rate. And if you'll scroll down, Jason, then they can kind of see the comments and stuff. So this just gives you an opportunity to put in the information in there. I liked to note that it was a local seller, but an out-of-state buyer, etc. And you could build more units on this comp. So that was one of the driving factors for such a low cap rate. And then
Rene, just to point out, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just to point out, when you're using this for an opinion of value or an analysis, not only can you put that commentary in, but in the comps manager, you can say this is 25% superior or 5% superior or 10% inferior, and the calc will make an adjustment from a benchmark valuation. So it'll actually not just give you that note but also give the data point as it's looking to help you in the pricing support.
You know, Jeff, that is a really good point. And with all of your tutorials and your step-by-step guidance in there, I have used that in the past and have found that to be helpful and to be very accurate in the market. So thanks for pointing that out, because it almost puts you at the level of an appraiser level of analyzing properties when you're looking at your sales comps compared to your property. So as we scroll down more, you'll see that I typically like to put 5 to 6 comparables in there, like the average broker. What I'm trying to do is just include everything that has recently been comparable that my owner may see, and then, you know, later say, hey, why didn't you show me that? Why didn't you explain that to me? So I try to include everything within reason for either proximity or sale date. And again, it's just super easy. You just click in to the comp section and you're allowed to, you just have the opportunity to key all this stuff in, and it's super easy to go in and revise your comps if you need to. So this particular one where we're at right here at 1370 High Street, this had sold about 2 years ago at obviously a different sales price and a different cap rate. I had the lion's share of the information in there, but now because the broker had put their offering memorandum out, I had current market rents as well as once it sold, then I could go in there and fill in the sales price and the cap rate and that information. So if you just commit the time, initially I was on the fence about, man, can I basically give up some time to key in these comparables? That was after my assistant had graduated and I was kind of doing these on my own, but I just decided that I would put in 1 or 2 every day as I saw a new property come to the market. And I'm glad I did, because as I've gotten busier, now I've got that whole data bank of sales comps and rent comps that are in there, and it makes my job so much easier when I'm putting together my offering memorandums and my flyers, as well as a broker opinion of value. And again, on a broker opinion of value or a broker price opinion, you may be competing against 2 or 3 other brokers. I just went up against a couple in my local market. We're all friends, but you know, I'm in a small pool in Eugene, Oregon, so we all compete. And I use RealNex for a broker price opinion for that, to share the sales comps and the information about that property. But when I was going for this property, I wanted the listing and I knew the seller was interested. So instead of giving him a broker price opinion, I wanted to have him look at his property through the eyes of a buyer. So that's why I built this offering memorandum, because it felt like more like a storybook that I could walk him through how his property was viewed in the market.
That's fantastic. So, Rene, you know, you're doing something very smart that not everyone does, and I don't want to have everyone miss this, but we all see OMs from other brokers in the market or other people that are selling property, and often they sit in a PDF file in a stack or of paper or in a folder on your hard drive. But if you take the time to extract those comps and put them in like Rene did, you've got gold that you can use. One of the things that if you're getting comps from a spreadsheet or otherwise, you can easily import them without having to key them into CRM or into MarketEdge directly. If you put it into CRM, you can bring them, they flow seamlessly into the MarketEdge. But getting those from comps from other OMs is a great resource. And we are going to be starting to work on an AI capability that will read those PDFs and extract that for you. But in the meantime, any spreadsheet that you've got, or if you've got something like this, just enter it in, import it in, and it's very fast and efficient.
Yeah, I do see AI being a tool that will help us do our business faster, but we're still going to need the components like MarketEdge. And it's great to hear that you guys are working on that component, Jeff, because I think that could really be beneficial to brokers who maybe don't have full-time assistants or a full staff to assist them, and having that AI component be able to glean that information out of a OM and to import it into their RealNex could be huge for time and efficiency. And again, the part that I love about it is once I key it in, then it's mine, just like that 1370 High Street. I had that keyed in from 2 years ago. So within 2 clicks, well, 3, sales price, the cap rate that it sold at, and the updated rents, my comp was basically updated. And I always try to update my notes, but you get the gist. It's once you put it in, it's there, and it's just your, I don't know, it's kind of like my little black book of information that I'm sharing with sellers of how their property is either like and similar in the market, or hey, here's what your competition looks like. So you may think your property is worth so much more, but here's how it's being viewed in the market, and here's the pitfalls that you're going to run into if you overprice it when we take it to the market. Okay, then let's look at rent comps. Real similar situation. Rent comps, you just basically can reach out to your favorite property manager. I use Zumpter, HotPads, Zillow, a little bit of Zillow, apartments.com, and that's how I come up with my rent comp information to basically demonstrate what the market looks like for rent comps. And you can see here how it just shows the occupancy. And then if you scroll down, you'll see the actual, each individual property. There's a graph that shows the average for the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And then as you scroll down, I have additional information in there about each comp. Most of my local property managers will give me that information. Again, if I can't get them, or if they're not willing to share that, I find a lot of that information is out in public, and apartments.com and Zumpter and some of those other projects. So, you know, it's not too hard to find that. The other part that I really like is in the recap, when you get to the end of these rent comps, RealNex has a really nice map that it just maps out where all of the rent comps are. And so a seller could pretty easily see, hey, she knows what she's talking about. She's pulled 6 rent comps all within a 1 to 2 block radius of my property. So she's a market expert. She understands the rent comps and the sales comps. And at that point, they're listening because they want to know what's their property worth. And then at the end, what I do is I put together the pro forma. Again, I include my pro forma in there, and then I walk the seller through my pro forma. This is kind of where I start to help them understand the value of their property. And I built this pro forma myself, but RealNex has amazing pro formas built in there. It's built into their software, so you don't actually have to set and calculate all this. There's two different ways that you can calculate a pro forma in RealNex. You can either do what they call kind of the quick analysis, where you just put in gross rent and then a number for like 30% of rents for expenses, and it'll give you the net operating income, and you can apply a market cap rate. I like to break mine out and show mine more in detail. And one of the reasons that I do that is, how often as a broker have you seen an offering memorandum where they haven't included anything for reserves, or their property management fee is super low, or they don't have anything in there for turnover? You know, you get the idea. I like to spell it out so that my seller sees it, they know how I've analyzed the property, and then when I skinny this OM down into a flyer format, I definitely include that pro forma so that my peers, my competition, the appraisers, lenders, and savvy investors can look at that and they can see it. And this is an example of how it breaks out in RealNex for either actual and then the market column also. And again, it's just nice to see that if you're applying the market rents in here, you can see that there's a pretty substantial difference. On the right-hand column under market for expenses, I didn't finish this particular one because I actually left page 25 out of my OM that I sent to my seller, but I wanted to share it with the audience so that you could just quickly see what RealNexes look like. Again, the beauty is you don't have to overthink the process. RealNex software does all the work for you. You're just keying in the numbers and it produces this beautiful pro forma and you're off and running. And then the next page is where I insert, this is called like a global page. And the beauty of a global page is that is a picture of the subject property, and then I'm able to go in and type in what I want and add for pricing details, cap rate, as you can see, square footage, lot size, and things like that. There's templates in RealNex. If you don't want to go to this level of detail and you want something that's more generic, there's disclosure pages in there. There's different pages. So if you are either busy or technically challenged, don't feel like you have to do this, but I will tell you, James in tech support helped me do this within 20 minutes tops. And not just help me do it, he taught me how to do it. So I only had to call him once to ask for help. I watched him do it, and then the next time I could do it from there. So really lean on tech support. I can't rave about James enough. The guy is so patient. So kudos to James. He's saved me more than once. Okay, Jeff, so far so good?
Perfect. And with this page, you did a great job, but you can make this page whatever you want. You could have, and it actually pulls data from the database as well. So if you say you want to use data, you say I want pull from the database, price, cap rate, price per unit, lot size, great. You don't need to re-enter that. And you could have like a headline that if you want it. And if I wanted to put a map in the lower right, I could do that. You could basically configure this page with what we call widgets. So just drop the picture. So there's the picture as an image, then there's bullets as an image. Then you could have a map as one of the widgets. And again, you could have multiple rows, multiple columns of different sizes and formats. So, and what Rene called about, not just custom, but global. And that means for every presentation, you have access to this formatted page. So you don't need to rebuild it in the future. Just grab it, drop it in, and it'll pull this data from your property profile.
Yeah, that's great, Jeff. So to recap also on the offering memorandum, it's basically, you could use it as a full marketing package with the financials and the market analysis information, or you could use it, again, I use mine as a guiding pricing guidance tool to explain to a seller. Once I explained this and demonstrated this, showed this to my seller, then he said, yeah, I'm ready to list. So I drafted my listing agreement and I submitted it to him, and I had him agree that he would allow me to market it off market, not put it out to CoStar, Crexi, LoopNet, Marketplace, not push it out to any of the platforms, because I knew of 2 developers in the University of Oregon campus area that were looking for development opportunities. And so the seller said, yeah, why don't you go ahead and see if you could put together an off-market deal. I'm going to sign the listing. You've got 21 days. So that's a little bit different also on why using an offering memorandum. I knew going in that that was the right approach, to use an offering memorandum rather than a broker price opinion, because with those broker price opinions, you're providing a valuation with comps and trends and pricing insight, but it's really not something that's going to be fluid that you could take right to the open market. So by building an offering memorandum, it gives you that opportunity to make a presentation to the seller, but then if you want, you could push it out to the market right away. And I'm going to show you my flyer next and how I kind of skinny this down into a couple of pages on a flyer. And as we scroll down, I'll show you one last page that I created is in global pages, as Jeff mentioned. It's where it's just my last kind of signature page. So Jason, if you'll scroll down a little bit, this shows my contact information. You can change the background and put in a picture of a property or whatever you want if you want to personalize that and make that more to your liking. And there are several disclosure pages. We use the Oregon Initial Real Estate Agency pamphlet in our documents, but there are disclosure pages built into the RealNex templates that you can include in the back part of this if you want to do that as well. So now what I'd like to do is just walk you through how I skinnied this down and put it into a flyer.
As you do that, it's just what a presumptive close this is. I mean, you're ready to go to market, and that's what you're showing this property owner. It's not that you're pitching them for the business. You're saying, yeah, I've already done the work. All I have to do is now I've got my database of buyers sitting here, whether it's 3 people or 300. You know, at the click of a button, I'm ready to go. It's not going to be a week or a month to get started. I invested a lot of time in you and this property to become the authority on it, and you demonstrate it so easily, so beautifully done.
Well, thank you. Once you put together your offering memorandum, you could also push that out. We call it publish. You could publish that through Marketplace. And Jeff, how many subscribers do you guys have?
In our marketplace, we have over 200,000 people now that browse our marketplace, or when we run email campaigns to market through the marketplace that would be exposed to. So, you know, depending on the property type and the market, there's obviously some subset of that, but that's the total community. So pretty massive market.
What a great way when you're trying to win the business to be able to say to a seller, hey, not only is the marketing package ready to go, we're ready to take it to market, but when I push the button, it's going to go out to, even if you say 30,000 brokers, I mean, they're going to know right away that you're well established, you're connected, you're a national broker at that point, and that you're going to have maximum exposure for their property. And that's what they want at the end of the day, is they want lots of eyeballs on their property. And the beauty also of using a system like Marketplace, where you can push and publish the property and get it out to other brokers. Don't get me wrong, LoopNet and CoStar and those guys, they have a phenomenal service. But at the end of the day, from a broker standpoint, sometimes you have to weigh your marketing dollars and you have to figure, do I really want to pay for a silver listing or a platinum listing? Because a lot of times those come with a 12-month contract and they're expensive, where if you build a marketing package and you send it out through Marketplace, you're getting your national exposure, but you're not on any 12-month contract, and you're just not committed at that level for a financial commitment. And like in my situation, I went under contract within 4 days. Well, if I would have signed a listing agreement with one of those national platforms and agreed to a 12-month contract, I still would have been on the hook on that. Yes, I could submit other properties, but sometimes, as like when we head into December and January, sometimes the inventory starts to thin out and you may not have multiple properties that you could fill one of those silver or platinum listing categories, but you're still paying that fee every month. So that's one of the caveats that I see that RealNex, where they differentiate themselves. They're giving you the software tools to build an amazing marketing package and a flyer, but then they also help you with these email blast opportunities and help you get your property out there for a national exposure. So this is the flyer that I build, and my goal when I build a flyer, and this one wound up being 9 pages, I really like to keep them to about 3 or 4 pages, because in my mind, what I'm trying to do is I am trying to capture the attention of the real estate broker while they are either standing in line at like a Chipotle's or wherever you're at, you're trying to grab lunch, or you're waiting on your kids to get out of daycare or dance, or you're sitting on the couch and it's 9 o'clock at night and you're scrolling with your thumb. Within 2 swipes on the phone, I want to give them the details of why they should present this property to their client and why they should pay attention to this. So my goal is to make these flyers short, compact, and concise so that they can quickly see it. One of the deals here was walkable to campus, 3 blocks from the U of O. The University of Oregon housing is in high demand right now because now we're in the Big Ten and some of the other factors that are working for our system. So the U of O is in high demand. So that was one thing that I put on the flyer. As we look at the second and third page, my goal was to also include the information. So Jason, if you'll scroll down. My goal for the second page was to include the fact that the property could be renovated, or they could also build 55 units on it. We might have lost Jason, so let's see if I can scroll down. I probably shouldn't touch the button. That's what he's really good at. Hey, Jason, can you click that down? Perfect. Okay, so this was what I was referring to. So you can see right here that the property is currently zoned R3, but it could be rezoned to R4, allowing to 55 units. For most of the student housing brokers that are working in my market, they know right off the bat who that's going to fit, because we all typically have an investor in our pocket that says, hey, if you find something that could be renovated, walkable to the U of O, I'm interested. So I include the information with the map and tax lot so that they can see that. Again, my goal is 3 swipes of their phone, and I want them to see the majority of this marketing package so that they'll know, hey, I need to send this forward to my client. Okay, let's go down to the next page. Pictures, I like to just include that so that a broker could obviously see the age of the property and know that it probably is a good opportunity for a redevelopment play. The current buyer that's under contract on this, he's going to hold it for a year, and then next school year, he's going to renovate and redevelop some of the units here. And on the next page, I did actually put in an aerial map on the next page. And the reason that I wanted to show the aerial map is I wanted to, if a broker was out of the area, I wanted to be able to have a buyer be able to see that location and the fact that it encompassed several tax lots. And then, Jason, if you can you scroll down to the unit mix? So there's the aerial map. Here again is the unit mix report, and the reason that I put the unit mix in is I want the broker to see the upside potential with the difference between the current monthly rents and the market rents that are available. And then you'll see my pro forma on the next page. And again, I want the broker to know that these numbers are what I call bankable. In other words, that broker will have confidence when they send it to their client that I've verified those numbers using tax returns of the seller, profit and loss from the property management company, and I have verified that those numbers are in line with market industry standard, as well as what the owner has been reporting for the last 2 years on his tax returns. And then the last page is just an easy page that you've seen, that I just have my contact information on there. My goal is to make it easy to read, light and bright, so that they can see it. Jason, can you scroll down to the next page so that they can see my contact information and call me? I didn't put this out to the open market, as I mentioned. I happened to reach out to a couple of investors, and I went under contract from start to finish within 4 days. So that's my story.
That's fantastic. We appreciate it. Thanks for sharing so much, Rene. We do have some time for questions. If you have any, although you covered it so well, not sure if there are, but I think, as Rene said, the opportunity with the MarketEdge presentations is that from one set of inputs, you can have multiple sets of outputs. So once you have that data in and all of your financials in, if you want a full-blown 100-page OM, you can get there. If you wanted 25-page BOV, you can get there. If you wanted a one-pager or a multi-page brochure teaser, you can get there. You just pick the pages you want, you add whatever details, look and feel that you want, and then you can get it out to market either in a PDF or an electronic document. These could all be links that you add to your listings on your website, or include them in an email. And the part of the benefit is you get to see what's happening, and you can measure the metrics of people who are opening and clicking and viewing. So it makes it for easy follow-up. So combining CRM analysis of presentation and the marketplace, you can track and monitor and highly, in a highly refined way, target your prospects in the market and follow up to get those efficient sale processes in. So it seems like everyone wants to get trick-or-treating, Rene, because there are no more questions. We caught them along the way. So I want to thank you for your time and support, and congratulate you on the success, and wish you continued great success in growing your multifamily practice. And thank you for using RealNex and sharing the way you're using it so effectively.